Earth was not just sleeping, it was a cosmic time bomb waiting to detonate. For millennia, the blue planet had drifted through space, dismissed by galactic civilizations as an unremarkable rock harboring primitive life forms. But appearances can be deceiving, especially on a cosmic scale. Sirius, lead scientist of the Denobulan Confederation, stared at the holographic display with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The routine scan of the Sol system had revealed something unprecedented. Earth was a sleeping giant, a world with untapped potential that could reshape the balance of power throughout the galaxy. "This changes everything," Sirius muttered, his elongated fingers dancing across the control panel. The data was clear. Hidden within the human genome lay a unique genetic marker, dormant but potent. If activated, it could catapult the species far beyond their current evolutionary state, granting them abilities that defied imagination. As Sirius prepared for a covert mission to Earth, unaware eyes on the planet's surface were about to stumble upon a truth that would shatter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Jeremy Henderson, former U.S. Army Ranger turned civilian defense contractor, squinted at the satellite feed. Something was off. Anomalous readings flickered across his screen, defying explanation. It wasn't a glitch. The new satellite technology he was testing had picked up traces of an advanced cloaking field, alien, on Earth. Within hours, Jeremy's discovery set off a chain reaction. The U.S. government, alerted to the potential threat, scrambled to assemble a top-secret task force. General Marcus Steele, a hardened veteran with nerves of steel, took command. His first order, recruit Henderson. "We're in uncharted territory, soldier," Steele growled during the briefing, "an alien presence on our soil with technology that makes ours look like stone tools. Your mission, find them, assess the threat, and neutralize if necessary." Jeremy nodded, his mind racing. He was paired with Dr. Alexei Volkov, a brilliant xenobiologist with wild eyes and wilder theories. Together, they delved into recovered alien tech, each discovery more mind-bending than the last. Meanwhile, deep in the Rocky Mountains, Sirius and his Denobulan team worked feverishly. Their hidden base, shielded by technology beyond human comprehension, hummed with activity. Every scan, every data point confirmed their initial findings. Earth was no ordinary world. It was a powder keg of potential, waiting for a spark. As the Denobulans intensified their covert activities, Earth's defenders found themselves in a deadly game of cat and mouse. Jeremy and Volkov raced to unlock the secrets of humanity's latent abilities, while Steele's task force worked to contain the situation and prevent global panic. But time was running out. In the vast reaches of space, the Denobulan Confederation received Sirius's reports with growing alarm. Earth, once dismissed as insignificant, now loomed as an existential threat. Warships were readied, invasion plans drawn up. The sleeping giant had to be neutralized before it could awaken. As humanity stood on the precipice of either evolutionary transcendence or utter annihilation, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The cosmic alarm clock was ticking, and when it went off, the galaxy would never be the same. The rhythmic hum of advanced machinery filled the air as Jeremy Henderson stood before the gleaming awakening beacon. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the final settings, acutely aware of the weight of expectation on his shoulders. "Ready when you are, Henderson." Dr. Alexei Volkov's voice crackled through the comlink. The scientist's excitement was palpable even through the static. Jeremy took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Initiating test sequence in 3, 2, 1. He pressed the activation switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a low thrumming filled the air, building in intensity until it seemed to resonate through Jeremy's very bones. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the device, engulfing him in a cocoon of pulsing energy. Jeremy gasped as an indescribable sensation washed over him. His senses sharpened exponentially. The desert air against his skin felt electric, each grain of sand beneath his feet distinct. Strength surged through his muscles, making him feel as though he could lift a mountain. "Henderson, report." General Steele's gruff voice cut through the haze of newfound power. Jeremy blinked, struggling to find words. Sir, it worked. I can't fully explain, but I'm different, enhanced. Miles away, hidden within a holographically disguised observation post, Sirius watched the energy spike with mounting alarm. His elongated fingers danced across his console, recording every detail of the human's transformation. "Wait, this is unprecedented," he muttered to his team. "Their progress far exceeds our projections. We must accelerate our plans." As Jeremy underwent debriefing at a secure facility, Sarah Taylor sat in her cramped office, brow furrowed, as she pored over streams of data. Something was off about the satellite feeds, subtle anomalies that nagged at her analytical mind. A knock at her door startled her from her focus. "Come in," she called, minimizing her screens out of habit. The door opened to reveal Jeremy, looking somewhat haggard, but with an intensity in his eyes that hadn't been there before. "Ms. Taylor, I'm Jeremy Henderson. We need to talk." Halfway across the world, in a dimly lit Moscow office, Colonel Dmitry Volkov leaned back in his chair, a predatory smile playing across his features. The intercepted communications were fragmentary, but the implications were clear. The Americans had made a breakthrough. "Prepare the extraction team," he ordered his aide. "It's time we paid my dear brother a visit." Back at the task force's headquarters, General Steele stood before a wall of monitors, each displaying data from the awakening beacon tests. "Prometheus team," he addressed the assembled group of newly enhanced individuals. "You're our first line of defense against a threat most of the world doesn't even know exists. Your mission is to find others like you, bring them in, and prepare for what's coming." Jeremy, now leading Prometheus, felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "We won't let you down, sir." As Prometheus deployed to the Pacific Northwest, following reports of telekinetic incidents, they remained unaware of the invisible eyes watching their every move. Denobulan observers, their presence masked by technology beyond human comprehension, tracked the team's progress with growing concern. In the vast emptiness near Jupiter, Admiral Jor stood on the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by the cloaked might of the Denobulan fleet. "Status report," he demanded. "Our stealth systems are holding, Admiral," his second-in-command replied. "The humans remain unaware of our presence." Jor's expression darkened. "For now, but with each passing moment, their potential grows. We must be prepared to strike at a moment's notice." On Earth, Sarah Taylor's fingers flew across her keyboard, her eyes widening as she deciphered the patterns in the water treatment data. "This can't be right," she whispered, double-checking her findings. The implications were staggering. Microscopic machines, far beyond current human technology, present in major water supplies across the globe. She reached for her secure line to contact Jeremy, her heart racing. This discovery could change everything. As Prometheus touched down in a small town in Oregon, Jeremy felt a familiar tingling at the base of his skull, a new sense he was still learning to interpret. "Stay alert," he warned his team. "We're not alone here." Hidden in the shadows of a nearby building, a figure watched the enhanced humans disembark. The observer spoke quietly into a concealed communicator, his Russian accent barely detectable. "Targets acquired. Prometheus team is on site, awaiting further instructions." In the hidden Denobulan base deep within the Rocky Mountains, Sirius reviewed the latest data from his global network of observation posts. The holographic displays painted a clear picture. Human potential was awakening faster than anyone had anticipated. "We're running out of time," he murmured, his alien features set in dogged tenacity. He turned to his chief engineer. "Prepare the Phase 2 protocols. We may need to take more direct action." As night fell across the globe, tensions continued to mount. In secret facilities and hidden bases, in the depths of space and the shadows of ordinary towns, the players in this cosmic drama moved their pieces into place. The slumbering giant that was humanity stirred ever closer to wakefulness, unaware of the forces converging around it. The awakening beacon's energy pulse had set in motion a chain of events that would reshape the destiny of Earth and its place in the galaxy. As Jeremy and his team ventured into the unknown, as Sarah unraveled alien secrets, and as forces both terrestrial and cosmic maneuvered in the darkness, one thing became abundantly clear: the world would never be the same again. The small town of Pine Creek, Oregon, nestled in the heart of the Pacific Northwest, had always prided itself on its quiet, unassuming nature. But as the sleek black vehicles of the Prometheus team rolled down Main Street, the air hummed with an undercurrent of tension and anticipation. Jeremy Henderson stepped out of the lead vehicle, his enhanced senses immediately cataloging every detail of his surroundings. The crisp mountain air carried the scent of pine and fresh-cut timber, but beneath it, he detected something else: an electric charge that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. "Fan out," he ordered his team. "Cooper, set up surveillance on the high school. Martinez, start interviewing witnesses. The rest of you, sweep the area for any unusual energy signatures." As his team dispersed, Jeremy made his way to the local sheriff's office. Sheriff Tom Hawkins, a grizzled man with a weathered face and tired eyes, greeted him with a firm handshake. "About time you folks showed up," Hawkins grumbled. "We've got half the town in a panic. Just yesterday, old Mrs. Peterson's entire living room furniture ended up on her front lawn. Says she never touched it." Jeremy nodded, his mind racing. "We'll get to the bottom of this, Sheriff. Can you take me to the high school?" Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Sarah Taylor's fingers flew across her keyboard, her eyes darting between multiple screens. The data streaming in from water treatment plants across the globe painted a disturbing picture. Microscopic machines, far beyond current human technology, infesting major water supplies. "Got you," Sarah muttered triumphantly as she isolated a pattern in the nanobot's transmissions. She picked up her secure line, dialing General Steele's direct number. "Sir, I found a way to track the aliens' data network," she reported. "There are hidden relay stations all over the world. If we can take them out, we'll blind a significant portion of their intelligence-gathering capabilities." Steele's gruff voice crackled over the line. "Good work, Taylor. I'm assembling a team for this operation. Stand by for further instructions." In Moscow, Colonel Dmitry Volkov leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smirk playing across his features. His team of elite hackers had just breached the outer security layers of the U.S. Task Force's network. "Excellent work, comrades," he praised, his eyes gleaming as he scanned the incoming data. "The Americans think they can keep secrets from us? We'll see about that." As Volkov's team delved deeper into the stolen files, they uncovered tantalizing fragments of information about the Awakening Beacon project. It wasn't much, but it was enough to confirm that something extraordinary was happening on American soil. Far above the Earth, in the cold vastness of space near Jupiter, Admiral Jor stood on the bridge of his flagship, his alien features set in a grim expression. A subordinate approached, offering a data pad. "The Confederation has given us new orders, Admiral," the officer reported. "We are to begin the next phase of the operation." Jor nodded, his elongated fingers dancing across the ship's control panel. "Deploy the stealth satellite network. I want eyes and ears on every inch of this system." Back in Pine Creek, Jeremy and his team had set up a temporary base of operations in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The interior hummed with advanced equipment, holographic displays flickering with data from their ongoing investigation. "Sir, you need to see this," Agent Cooper called out, gesturing to one of the screens. Jeremy moved closer, his eyes widening as he watched footage from the high school cafeteria. A group of teenagers sat at a table, laughing and talking. Suddenly, their trays began to levitate, floating several inches above the table. It's not just random incidents, Jeremy realized. These kids are manifesting abilities. Further investigation led the team to a clearing in the nearby forest. As they approached, Jeremy felt a familiar tingling at the base of his skull, the same sensation he'd experienced near the Awakening Beacon. "Everyone, stay alert," he warned, drawing his weapon. They pushed through the underbrush, emerging into a small clearing. There, half buried in the soft earth, lay a sleek silver craft of unmistakably alien design. My God, Martinez breathed. Is that what I think it is? Jeremy approached cautiously, his enhanced senses picking up a low, pulsing hum emanating from the craft. He activated his comlink. General Steele, this is Henderson. We've found something you need to see. As the Prometheus team secured the crash site, Dr. Alexei Volkov worked feverishly in his lab, poring over the data from the recovered denobulin technology. His wild eyes widened as he made a startling connection. It can't be, he muttered, double-checking his calculations. But the evidence was clear. The aliens' propulsion systems utilized an energy frequency that resonated with the human genetic marker responsible for awakening latent abilities. Unbeknownst to Volkov, one of his new lab assistants watched him intently, recording every detail of his discovery. The disguised denobulin operative silently transmitted the information back to Sirius. In his hidden base, Sirius received the transmission with mounting alarm. They're progressing faster than we anticipated, he told his team. We need to accelerate our plans, deploy more operatives immediately. As the various factions continued their moves and countermoves, the tension continued to build. In Washington, D.C., General Steele oversaw the mobilization of military forces under the guise of training exercises. In Beijing, intelligence analysts pored over satellite imagery, trying to make sense of the unusual global activity. And in Pine Creek, Oregon, a group of bewildered teenagers found themselves at the center of a cosmic drama, their newfound abilities a harbinger of the changes to come. Jeremy Henderson stood at the edge of the forest, watching as a team of specialists carefully extracted the denobulin scout ship from the ground. He knew that with each passing moment, humanity drew closer to a confrontation that would determine its place in the universe. As the alien craft was loaded onto a transport vehicle, Jeremy's comm link crackled to life. Henderson, General Steele's voice came through. Get your team ready. We're expanding the search for awakened individuals nationwide. This is just the beginning. Jeremy nodded, his gaze turning to the sky. Somewhere up there, he knew, Admiral Jour's fleet was watching, waiting for the slumbering giant of humanity to fully awaken. The cosmic alarm clock was ticking faster now, counting down to a moment that would change everything. The world changed overnight. Jeremy Henderson stood in the bustling command center of the U.S. Task Force headquarters, his eyes fixed on the wall of screens before him. Each display showed a different social media feed, all of them flooding with videos and posts about ordinary people suddenly manifesting extraordinary abilities. Sir, we've lost control of the narrative, a young analyst reported, her voice tight with stress. The awakening is going viral. Jeremy nodded grimly. Get me General Steele. Before he could make the call, his phone buzzed with an incoming message from Sarah Taylor. He read it quickly, his eyebrows rising. Hold that thought, he told the analyst. We may have a game changer here. Across the globe, in a nondescript office building in Geneva, the United Nations Security Council convened in an emergency session. The tension in the room was palpable as General Marcus Steele took the podium, his weathered face grave. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his voice resonating through the chamber. What I'm about to tell you will change everything you thought you knew about our world and our place in the universe. The room fell silent as Steele launched into his presentation, revealing the existence of the denobulins and their connection to the awakening of human potential. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the assembly as he presented irrefutable evidence of alien technology and its influence on Earth. We stand at a crossroads, Steele concluded. The threat we face is beyond anything humanity has ever encountered. But we also have an unprecedented opportunity. The awakening of these abilities in our population may be our only hope of survival. As the implications of Steele's words sank in, the council erupted into frantic discussion. After hours of debate, a resolution was passed to form a global coalition to address the denobulin threat and manage the surge of powered individuals. On a remote island in the Pacific Ocean, construction crews worked around the clock to build the International Metahuman Training Facility. Jeremy Henderson surveyed the progress from a helicopter, his enhanced vision picking out details from thousands of feet in the air. It's coming along nicely, he said into his headset, speaking to Dr. Alexei Volkov, who was coordinating the scientific aspects of the facility. How soon can we start bringing in candidates? We'll be ready for the first group within the week, Volkov replied, his accented voice crackling over the comm. I can't wait to begin our research. The potential here is staggering. As they discussed logistics, Jeremy's phone buzzed again. It was Sarah Taylor calling with an update on her work against the Denobulin surveillance network. Jeremy, we did it, Sarah said, her voice brimming with excitement. The virus works. We've started implementing it in water treatment plants across the globe. The Denobulin nanobots are going dark. Jeremy allowed himself a small smile. Excellent work, Sarah. This should buy us some breathing room. Little did they know their success was about to force the Denobulin's hand. In the vast emptiness of space, Admiral Jor received the report of Earth's countermeasure against their surveillance network. His elongated fingers curled into fists as he processed the implications. They've progressed further than we anticipated, he growled to his second-in-command. We can no longer afford to wait. Prepare the strike teams. It's time to show these humans the true extent of our power. Over the next 48 hours, a series of devastating attacks rocked military and research installations around the world. Advanced weaponry left destruction in its wake, with barely a trace of its alien origins. Governments pointed fingers at each other, accusations flew, and the fragile global coalition threatened to fracture under the strain. Amidst the chaos, Jeremy found himself facing an unexpected threat from within. His enhanced senses tingled as he entered a secure server room at the task force headquarters. There, hunched over a terminal, was Colonel Dmitry Volkov, furiously downloading classified data. Step away from the computer, Dmitry, Jeremy said, his voice low and dangerous. The Russian operative spun around, his hand reaching for a concealed weapon. What followed was a blur of superhuman speed and strength as Jeremy unleashed his newly developed abilities. Fists flew faster than the eye could follow, and Dmitry found himself outmatched by Jeremy's enhanced reflexes. In a last desperate move, Dmitry lunged for the terminal, managing to hit the transmit button before Jeremy could stop him. As alarms blared throughout the facility, Jeremy subdued the Russian agent, but the damage was done. Partial data on the awakening beacon had been sent to unknown recipients. As Jeremy handed Dmitry over to security, his mind raced with the implications of this breach. The game was changing rapidly, and he knew they needed to stay ahead of the curve. In Beijing, the Chinese government made a startling announcement, revealing the existence of a massive underground complex designed to shelter millions in the event of an alien invasion. The disclosure sent shockwaves through the international community, spurring other nations to begin similar projects. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, an unprecedented meeting was about to take place. World leaders gathered in a secure chamber, their faces a mix of anticipation and fear. A hush fell over the room as a figure stepped forward. Tall, with iridescent skin and large black eyes, it was Sirius making his first direct contact with human leadership. Esteemed leaders of Earth, Sirius began, his voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. I come before you with an offer of alliance between your world and the Denobulin Confederation. As Sirius outlined his proposal, advanced technology in exchange for Earth's submission to Denobulin authority, the room erupted into heated debate. Some saw an opportunity for unprecedented advancement, while others recognized the offer for what it was, thinly veiled subjugation. While diplomats argued, Jeremy and his team at the International Training Facility made a breakthrough that would change the course of Earth's defense. During a routine exercise, they discovered that groups of awakened individuals working in concert could achieve feats far beyond their individual capabilities. Jeremy watched in awe as a team of trainees combining their various abilities created a force field powerful enough to withstand a barrage of experimental weapons fire. This changes everything, he breathed, already envisioning the tactical applications. As Earth grappled with these new developments, Admiral Jor made his fateful decision. The time for subtlety had passed. From his flagship near Jupiter, he gave the order that would seal the fate of two civilizations. "Prepare the fleet for full-scale invasion," he commanded, his voice ringing through the bridge. "The time has come to claim Earth for the Denobulan Confederation." Across the planet, deep space monitoring stations suddenly lit up with alerts. The Denobulan fleet had begun its approach, their massive ships emerging from the cloak of stealth technology that had hidden them for so long. In Washington, D.C., General Steele received the alert and immediately initiated Earth's defense protocols. "This is not a drill," he announced to the global coalition. "The Denobulan invasion force is inbound. All military assets are to be deployed immediately." At the International Training Facility, Jeremy gathered his newly formed squads of powered individuals. "This is what we've been preparing for," he told them, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "You are Earth's last line of defense. Together, we will show these aliens what humanity is truly capable of." As the first Denobulan ships entered Earth's atmosphere, humanity stood united in the face of an existential threat. The awakening of human potential was about to be put to the ultimate test, with the fate of the planet hanging in the balance. Jeremy Henderson, now the leader of Earth's meta-human defense forces, took a deep breath as he prepared to coordinate the planet's response. The sky darkened with the approach of alien vessels, and the air crackled with the energy of countless awakened individuals ready to fight for their world. The battle for Earth was about to begin. Unleashing a spectacle of light and destruction that would be seared into humanity's collective memory for generations to come. The Rocky Mountains Command Center shook as Jeremy Henderson strode purposefully through its reinforced corridors. Screens lining the walls displayed real-time feeds from around the globe, each one a window into the unfolding chaos. He entered the main control room where a team of analysts and strategists worked feverishly at their stations. "Status report," Jeremy demanded, his enhanced senses already processing multiple data streams simultaneously. A young lieutenant snapped to attention. "Sir, Denobulan forces have breached our upper atmosphere. They're targeting key infrastructure across all continents." Jeremy nodded, his mind racing through potential strategies. "Deploy our meta-human squads to major population centers, priority on defensive maneuvers and civilian evacuation." As the orders went out, the screens erupted with new information. In New York City, a Denobulan energy blast hurtled toward the heart of Manhattan. But before it could strike, a squad of telekinetics stepped forward, their hands outstretched and faces contorted with effort. The massive energy bolt slowed, then stopped, hovering in midair for a breathless moment before reversing course and slamming into the Denobulan ship that had fired it. The alien vessel's shields flared and failed, sending it spiraling into the East River in a plume of steam and twisted metal. A cheer went up in the command center, quickly stifled as Jeremy raised a hand for silence. "Don't celebrate yet," he warned. "This is just the beginning." In orbit, Admiral Zor stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "How is this possible?" he hissed, his elongated fingers curling into fists. "Our intelligence indicated their abilities were still in their infancy." His second-in-command, a battle-scarred veteran named Krex, leaned in to study the data. "It appears we've grossly underestimated their potential, Admiral. Perhaps a change in strategy." "No," Zor snapped. "We press the attack. They cannot possibly have enough of these enhanced humans to defend every target." But as the invasion progressed, it became clear that humanity's resistance was far more formidable than anticipated. In Tokyo, gravity manipulators grounded Denobulan dropships, leaving alien shock troops stranded and vulnerable. Rio de Janeiro's newly awakened pyrokinetics turned the city's beaches into walls of flame, incinerating wave after wave of landing craft. At the International Training Facility, Dr. Alexei Volkov burst into the command center, his lab coat flapping behind him. "We've done it," he exclaimed, eyes wild with excitement and lack of sleep. "We can amplify the awakening beacon signal globally." Jeremy turned to face the scientist, hope and apprehension warring in his expression. "What are the risks?" Volkov's enthusiasm dimmed slightly. "Unknown. The scale is unprecedented. We could awaken millions, but the effects on global stability..." Before Jeremy could respond, General Steele's face appeared on the main screen. Henderson, Volkov, we're initiating the global broadcast. The Security Council has made its decision. May God have mercy on us all. With that, the signal went out. Across the planet, a network of satellites and ground stations began emitting the awakening frequency. The effect was immediate and staggering. In a small town in Kansas, a farmer's hand suddenly glowed with bioluminescent energy. In a Mumbai call center, a young woman found herself able to process and comprehend multiple languages simultaneously. On a fishing boat off the coast of Ireland, a grizzled old sailor discovered he could control the very currents of the ocean. Millions awakened in an instant, their latent abilities bursting forth in a dizzying array of power and potential. But with this great awakening came chaos. Reports flooded in of accidental destruction as newly empowered individuals struggled to control their abilities. In the command center, Jeremy worked tirelessly to coordinate the global response. "We need to get these people trained and organized," he barked into his comm unit. "Set up regional response centers. Anyone with combat-applicable abilities gets fast-tracked to the front lines." As the tide of battle shifted, Admiral Zor found himself facing a difficult decision. His fleet, once seemingly invincible, now hung in low orbit, battered and diminished. "All ships, initiate tactical retreat," he ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. "Regroup at Lunar Defense Position Alpha." On Earth, cheers erupted as the Denobulan ships began to withdraw. But Jeremy knew the fight was far from finished. "Don't lose focus," he warned his teams. "We've won the battle, not the war." In the days that followed, Earth grappled with its new reality. Governments struggled to maintain order as millions of newly powered individuals came to terms with their abilities. The International Training Facility worked around the clock, providing guidance and support to those in need. Sarah Taylor led a team of scientists in reverse engineering captured Denobulan technology. In a secure lab, she pored over the alien devices, her mind racing with possibilities. "If we can crack their shield technology," she mused, "we might have a chance at taking the fight to them." Meanwhile, the Chinese government's underground complex had become a hive of activity. Assembly lines churned out advanced weaponry designed to work in tandem with metahuman abilities. Powered exoskeletons, psionic amplifiers, and energy-focusing gauntlets rolled off the production lines in staggering numbers. In a secure holding facility, Colonel Dmitry Volkov sat across from Jeremy, his hands cuffed to the table. "I'm willing to help," the Russian operative said, his voice carefully neutral. "But I want assurances." Jeremy leaned forward, his enhanced senses picking up every micro-expression on Volkov's face. "You're in no position to make demands, but if your information proves valuable, we'll consider limited involvement in our defense efforts." As Earth prepared for the next phase of the conflict, a new variable entered the equation. Long-range sensors detected a massive ship entering the solar system, dwarfing even the largest Denobulan vessels. In the command center, all eyes turned to the main screen as the ship broadcast its message. "Attention Earth and Denobulan forces," a melodious voice announced in multiple languages. "This is the Galactic Confederation peacekeeping vessel Harmony. We are here to mediate this conflict and prevent further hostilities." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. Jeremy exchanged a look with General Steele, whose face appeared on a nearby monitor. "Well," Steele said grimly, "it seems the game has changed yet again." As Earth's leaders convened to discuss this new development, Jeremy couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's greatest challenges still lay ahead. The Denobulans were temporarily at bay, but now a new alien power had entered the picture. And with millions of newly awakened individuals struggling to control their abilities, the potential for internal strife loomed large. Jeremy stepped out onto a balcony overlooking the Rocky Mountains, taking a moment to gather his thoughts. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. In the distance, he could see the contrails of fighter jets on patrol, a constant reminder of the ongoing threat. As he contemplated the challenges ahead, Jeremy's enhanced hearing picked up the sound of approaching footsteps. He turned to see Sarah Taylor joining him on the balcony, a tablet in her hands. "We've made a breakthrough with the denobulin shield technology," she said, her eyes alight with excitement. "But there's something else you need to see." Jeremy took the tablet, his eyes widening as he scanned the data. The implications were staggering, potentially changing everything they thought they knew about the conflict and humanity's place in the cosmos. "Get General Steele on the line," Jeremy said, his voice taut with urgency. "We need to convene the Security Council immediately. Things are about to get a lot more complicated." Complicated. Sarah's eyes widened as she processed Jeremy's words. "How soon can we meet with the Security Council?" "I'm working on it now," Jeremy replied, his fingers flying over the tablet's screen. "But first, we need to—" A deafening roar interrupted him as a massive shadow fell over the Rocky Mountains complex. Both Jeremy and Sarah looked up to see an enormous ship, easily dwarfing even the largest denobulin vessels, descending through the atmosphere. "What in the world?" Sarah breathed, her voice barely audible over the ship's engines. Jeremy's enhanced vision zoomed in on the vessel's hull, picking out unfamiliar markings. "It's not denobulin," he said, tension evident in his voice. "This is something new." Before either of them could react further, every screen and communication device in the facility lit up with an incoming transmission. The melodious voice that filled the air sent chills down their spines. "Attention Earth and denobulin forces. This is the Galactic Confederation peacekeeping vessel, Harmony. We are here to mediate this conflict and prevent further hostilities." The next few hours passed in a blur of frantic activity. Earth's leaders scrambled to convene an emergency meeting, while the denobulin fleet, still licking its wounds near the moon, maintained a wary distance from the new arrival. Jeremy found himself in a secure conference room with General Steele, Dr. Alexei Volkov, and a host of military and political leaders from around the world. The air was thick with tension and the acrid smell of too much coffee. "We've received a formal request for a meeting," General Steele announced, his weathered face grim. "The Galactic Confederation wants representatives from both Earth and the Denobulin Confederation to board their ship, the Arbitrator, for peace talks." A murmur of concern rippled through the room. Dr. Volkov leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "And who exactly are these Galactic Confederation people? We know nothing about them or their motivations." "Precisely why we need to tread carefully," Jeremy interjected. "This could be an opportunity to end this conflict, or it could be walking into another trap." After hours of heated debate, a decision was reached. Earth would send a delegation consisting of General Steele, Jeremy Henderson, and Dr. Alexei Volkov. As the meeting adjourned, Sarah Taylor burst into the room, her face flushed with exertion and excitement. "Jeremy, I need to speak with you immediately," she said, her voice urgent. "It's about the Galactic Confederation." In a quiet corner, Sarah showed Jeremy the data she'd uncovered. "I've been analyzing their communications," she explained, her fingers dancing across her tablet. "There are inconsistencies, encrypted channels we can't fully decode. But what I have deciphered, it's troubling." Jeremy's eyes narrowed as he studied the information. "They're interested in our abilities," he said, his voice low, "not just as peacekeepers, but as potential weapons," Sarah finished. "I think they might be here to study us, maybe even exploit the awakening for their own purposes." Jeremy's mind raced with the implications. "We need to inform the others, but carefully. If we're walking into a trap, we need to be prepared." As Earth's delegation prepared for departure, Jeremy discreetly shared Sarah's findings with General Steele and Dr. Volkov. They agreed to proceed with caution, keenly aware of the potential dangers that awaited them. The shuttle ride to the Arbitrator was tense and silent. As they approached the massive ship, even General Steele couldn't suppress a gasp of awe. The Arbitrator was a city in space, its hull gleaming with an otherworldly sheen that seemed to absorb and reflect light in impossible ways. They docked with a soft thud, and as the airlock cycled, Jeremy took a deep breath. "Remember," he murmured to his companions, "trust nothing at face value." The Earth delegation was escorted through cavernous hallways, their footsteps echoing in the alien architecture. They finally arrived at a grand chamber where they came face to face with the Denobulan representatives, Admiral Jor, and a lean, intense-looking individual introduced as Sirius. At the head of a massive table stood Ambassador Zarlok, a towering reptilian being with iridescent scales and eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. "Welcome," Zarlok said, his voice the same melodious tone they had heard in the transmission. "We are gathered here to bring peace to your troubled sector." As Zarlok began outlining the Galactic Confederation's proposal, Jeremy's enhanced senses went into overdrive. He detected minute fluctuations in the ambassador's voice, barely perceptible shifts in body language that set off alarm bells in his mind. Beside him, Dr. Volkov listened intently, his scientific mind analyzing every word. General Steele maintained a stoic facade, but Jeremy could sense the tension radiating from him. The terms laid out by Zarlok seemed reasonable on the surface: an immediate cessation of hostilities, withdrawal of Denobulan forces, and the establishment of Earth as a protectorate of the Galactic Confederation. But something felt off. As discussions progressed, Jeremy caught Admiral Zor shooting furtive glances at Sirius. There was an undercurrent of unease that permeated the room, transcending the expected tension between former enemies. Suddenly, Sirius stood up, his chair screeching against the floor. "Enough of this charade," he declared, his voice trembling with hardly restrained emotion. "Admiral, we cannot continue this deception." All eyes turned to the Denobulan scientist as he took a deep breath. "The truth is, we were never acting alone. The Denobulan Confederation's invasion of Earth was orchestrated by the Galactic Confederation all along." The room erupted into chaos. Admiral Zor's face contorted with shock and betrayal, while Ambassador Zarlok's serene expression faltered for a moment before smoothing over. "Is this true?" General Steele demanded, his voice cutting through the commotion. Zarlok's eyes narrowed, and in that moment Jeremy knew that Sarah's suspicions had been correct. The ambassador's next words confirmed their worst fears. "The awakening of humanity's latent abilities presents both a threat and an opportunity to the galactic order," Zarlok said, dropping all pretense of neutrality. "We sought to assess and potentially neutralize Earth as a sleeping giant. Now we see the potential to harness these abilities for the greater good of the Confederation." As the true nature of the situation became clear, Jeremy realized they were trapped on the arbitrator, far from any help. He exchanged a quick glance with General Steele and Dr. Volkov, a silent agreement passing between them. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. Back on Earth, Sarah Taylor worked feverishly, her fingers flying over keyboards as she attempted to breach the Galactic Confederation's communication systems. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and she knew that the information she uncovered could make all the difference. As tensions escalated on the arbitrator and Earth's defenses mobilized for an even greater threat, the stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the future of not just one planet, but potentially the entire galaxy. Jeremy's mind raced as he processed Zarlok's revelation. The Galactic Confederation had been pulling the strings all along, manipulating both Earth and the Denobulans. He locked eyes with General Steele and Dr. Volkov, a silent understanding passing between them. They needed to act fast. In one fluid motion, Jeremy leaped across the table, his enhanced strength propelling him toward Zarlok. The ambassador's eyes widened in surprise as Jeremy's fist connected with his scaly face, sending him stumbling backward. "Now!" Jeremy shouted, and chaos erupted in the chamber. General Steele moved with surprising agility for his age, tackling a nearby Confederation guard. Dr. Volkov ducked under the table, pulling out a concealed device he had smuggled aboard. To everyone's surprise, Admiral Zor and Sirius joined the fray, turning on their Confederation captors. Sirius used his lean frame to his advantage, weaving through the melee to reach the chamber's control panel. "This way," Sirius called out, his fingers dancing over the alien interface. A hidden door slid open, revealing a maintenance corridor. The unlikely allies fought their way through, Jeremy taking point with his superhuman reflexes. They raced through the labyrinthine passages of the arbitrator, alarms blaring around them. "We need to access their data center," Dr. Volkov panted as they ran. "If we can get intel on their technology and plans, we might have a chance." Admiral Zor nodded grimly. "2 levels down, I can guide us there." They encountered resistance at every turn. Confederation security forces poured into the corridors, armed with weapons that crackled with energy. Jeremy's enhanced senses allowed him to anticipate their attacks, clearing a path for his companions. General Steele proved he was far from outdated, his years of tactical experience evident in every move. He coordinated their defense, using the narrow corridors to their advantage. They reached the data center, a cavernous room filled with pulsing alien technology. Dr. Volkov wasted no time, plugging his device into a terminal. "Cover me," he said, his eyes scanning streams of data. "This will take a few minutes." Jeremy and the others formed a defensive perimeter as Confederation forces converged on their position. The air filled with the smell of ozone as energy weapons discharged. "My God," Dr. Volkov muttered, his face illuminated by the alien screens. "Their technological capabilities, it's beyond anything we imagined. And they have their own enhanced beings, Jeremy. They've been experimenting with abilities like yours." A massive explosion rocked the ship, nearly throwing them off their feet. Sirius, who had been monitoring the ship's systems, looked up with alarm. "They're preparing to lock down the entire vessel. We need to move now." Dr. Volkov unplugged his device, clutching it tightly. "I've got what we need. Let's go." They fought their way to the shuttle bay, the true scale of the arbitrator becoming apparent. Endless rows of cryopods lined the walls, housing what appeared to be genetically engineered soldiers. Weapon caches big enough to level cities sat idle, waiting to be deployed. "This is what we're up against," General Steele said grimly as they ran past. "We need to warn Earth." They reached the shuttle bay, commandeering a sleek vessel clearly designed for speed. Jeremy took the pilot's seat, his enhanced abilities giving him an intuitive understanding of the controls. As they blasted out of the arbitrator, the enormity of the situation hit them. The Galactic Confederation's ship dwarfed even the largest denobulan vessels, casting a shadow over the moon. Alarms blared as a swarm of fighter ships poured out of the arbitrator in pursuit. Jeremy's hands flew over the controls, the shuttle weaving through a barrage of energy blasts. "Admiral, we could use your expertise," Jeremy called out, his eyes never leaving the view screen. Admiral Zor moved to the weapons station, his years of space combat experience evident as he returned fire with precision. As they approached Earth, the planet's transformation became evident. Energy shields shimmered around major cities, and a network of satellites formed a makeshift defense grid. "Earth's defenses have improved," Sirius observed, a note of admiration in his voice. Suddenly, the pursuing ships broke off their attack. A familiar denobulan fleet moved to intercept, buying them precious time. "Sarah," Jeremy breathed, realizing she must have coordinated this response. "She's been busy." Their relief was short-lived as the shuttle began to shake violently. "We've sustained damage," Jeremy announced, fighting with the controls. "Atmospheric entry is going to be rough." They plummeted toward the Pacific, aiming for a distant island that seemed to pulse with activity. As they drew closer, they saw it had been transformed into a fortified stronghold. "Brace for impact!" Jeremy shouted as the island rushed up to meet them. The shuttle skidded across the landing zone, screeching to a halt mere meters from the facility's entrance. Smoke billowed from the craft as emergency teams rushed forward. Jeremy stumbled out of the shuttle, his enhanced healing already working on his injuries. He turned to help the others, marveling at the sight before him. The island teemed with individuals displaying a vast array of superhuman abilities. Some flew overhead, others moved with incredible speed, and still others manipulated the elements themselves. General Steele, battered but standing tall, surveyed the scene with a mix of awe and grit. "We need to convene a global summit immediately," he said, his voice hoarse from smoke inhalation. The intelligence we've gathered could be the key to our survival. As medical personnel tended to their wounds, Jeremy's enhanced hearing picked up a commotion from the command center. He turned to see Sarah Taylor rushing towards them, her face a mix of relief and urgency. "Thank God you're alive," she said, embracing Jeremy briefly before addressing the group. "We've detected a massive energy buildup near the moon. The arbitrator is on the move." They all turned to look at the sky, where the faintest outline of the massive ship was becoming visible even to normal human eyes. "Then we have no time to waste," Jeremy said, his voice steady despite the weight of what was to come. "The real battle for Earth is about to begin." Begin. The Earth's atmosphere crackled with energy as the arbitrator loomed ever closer, its massive form casting an ominous shadow over the planet. Jeremy Henderson stood at the command center of the fortified island, his enhanced senses taking in the flurry of activity around him. Screens displayed real-time data from Earth's newly established defense grid, while holographic projections showed the positions of both friendly and enemy forces. "Status report!" Jeremy barked, his eyes scanning the tactical displays. Sarah Taylor, her face etched with willpower, looked up from her console. "The arbitrator has entered low Earth orbit. Our long-range sensors are detecting massive energy buildups consistent with weapons charging." Jeremy nodded, his mind racing through potential strategies. He turned to Admiral Zor, who stood nearby, studying the Denobulan fleet formations. "Admiral, we need to integrate your tactics with our metahuman capabilities. What do you suggest?" Zor's reptilian features creased in concentration. "Your telekinetics could provide cover for our ships, deflecting incoming fire. And if we could use your gravity manipulators to disrupt their targeting systems..." Jeremy's eyes lit up. "Excellent. Sarah, relay those orders to our defense coordinators." As Sarah began transmitting the new battle plans, Dr. Alexei Volkov burst into the command center, his lab coat disheveled and eyes wild with excitement. "We've done it!" he exclaimed, brandishing a data pad. "The energy amplifiers are ready. We can boost our metahumans' powers exponentially." Jeremy took the pad, quickly scanning the technical readouts. "How soon can we deploy?" "Immediately," Volkov replied. "We've already installed the network. We just need to activate it." Jeremy nodded, a grim smile playing on his lips. "Do it." As Volkov rushed to implement the new technology, alarms blared throughout the command center. The arbitrator had launched its first wave of attacks. "Incoming!" Sarah shouted. "Multiple fighter squadrons and drop pods detected." Jeremy's voice rang out, clear and authoritative. "Activate all defenses. Pyrokinetics form a barrier in the upper atmosphere. Gravity manipulators target those drop pods. Let's show them what we're capable of." The sky erupted in a dazzling display of power as Earth's metahuman defender sprang into action. Walls of flame materialized in the stratosphere, incinerating incoming fighters on contact. Gravity wells appeared around descending drop pods, crushing them like tin cans before they could reach the ground. In the command center, Jeremy watched the battle unfold with fierce intensity. "We need to take the fight to them," he declared. "I'm leading a strike team aboard the arbitrator." General Steele, who had been coordinating ground defenses, looked up sharply. "That's too risky, Henderson. We can't lose you." Jeremy's eyes flashed with perseverance. "It's the only way to end this quickly. We need to disable their weapons and shields from within." After a moment of tense silence, Steele nodded. "Godspeed, son." Jeremy assembled his team, a mix of the most powerful metahumans and experienced Denobulan operatives. They gathered in a specially designed chamber where Denobulan cloaking technology merged with the abilities of human teleporters. "Remember," Jeremy addressed his team, "once we're aboard, we move fast and hit hard. Our objective is the main control room. Disable their weapons, drop their shields, and we turn the tide of this battle." With a flash of energy, the strike team vanished, reappearing moments later in the cavernous depths of the arbitrator. Alarms blared as they materialized, but the team moved with practiced precision, neutralizing nearby guards before they could react. As they fought their way through the ship's winding corridors, Jeremy's enhanced senses picked up the chaos of the battle raging outside. He could hear the distant rumble of explosions, feel the subtle vibrations as the arbitrator's weapons discharged. Suddenly, a mental warning flared in Jeremy's mind, a gift from Colonel Dmitry Volkov's Psychic Defense Network. He ducked, narrowly avoiding a blast of energy that sizzled past his head. "Telepathic attack incoming," he warned his team. "Shields up." The air shimmered as the psychic assault materialized, taking the form of nightmarish thought forms that clashed with the strike team's mental defenses. It was a surreal sight, tangible manifestations of will and fear battling in the sterile corridors of the alien ship. As they pressed on, Jeremy's comm crackled to life. It was Sarah's voice, tinged with awe and urgency. "Jeremy, you won't believe this. The Chinese just deployed some kind of massive mech suit. It's engaging the arbitrator's ground forces, and it's incredible." Through a nearby viewport, Jeremy caught a glimpse of the colossal machine. It moved with surprising grace for its size, each motion amplified by the combined powers of its metahuman pilots. The mech's fists crackled with energy as it grappled with towering alien war machines, the ground shaking beneath their titanic struggle. The strike team fought on, inching closer to the arbitrator's central control room. As they rounded the final corner, they found themselves face to face with Ambassador Zarlok. The alien diplomat's serene facade had vanished, replaced by a being of terrifying power and ancient malice. Zarlok's form shifted and writhed, as if struggling to contain the essence of something far older than the universe itself. "So," Zarlok's voice reverberated through the corridor, "the sleeping giant sends its champions. How fitting that you should meet your end here, at the cusp of your species' potential." Jeremy stepped forward, his body tensed for combat. "It's over, Zarlok. Your invasion has failed. Surrender now and we can end this without further bloodshed." Zarlok's laughter was like the grinding of tectonic plates. "Foolish child. This is but the opening move in a game that has spanned millennia. Your world is nothing but a pawn in a cosmic chess match you cannot begin to comprehend." With that, Zarlok attacked. The being's limbs elongated, becoming whip-like appendages that lashed out with blinding speed. Jeremy's enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge the initial assault, but he quickly realized he was facing an opponent with eons of combat experience. As Jeremy engaged Zarlok in close-quarters combat, his team fought to breach the control room. Energy blasts and telekinetic forces clashed, the ship's corridors becoming a maelstrom of destructive power. Jeremy pushed his abilities to their absolute limits, his body moving faster than the human eye could track. But for every blow he landed, Zarlok seemed to adapt, its form shifting to counter Jeremy's attacks. Just as the battle seemed to reach a stalemate, Jeremy's comm crackled again. This time, it was Dr. Volkov's excited voice that came through. "We found their weakness. The Confederation's technology is vulnerable to a specific energy frequency, one that resonates with our awakened genetic marker. We're reconfiguring the defense grid now." A surge of hope coursed through Jeremy. He redoubled his efforts, keeping Zarlok occupied as his team worked to gain control of the arbitrator's systems. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. Warning lights flashed throughout the corridor as the reconfigured defense grid activated. Zarlok faltered, its form fluctuating wildly as the energy frequency interfered with its ability to maintain cohesion. Jeremy seized the opportunity. With a series of lightning-fast strikes, he drove Zarlok back, each blow empowered by the same energy that was disrupting the ancient being's form. As Zarlok stumbled, Jeremy's team finally breached the control room. They worked quickly, their fingers flying over alien interfaces as they turned the arbitrator's formidable weapons against the remaining Confederation forces. Outside, the tide of battle had turned decisively in Earth's favor. The Confederation ships hung motionless in space, their systems disrupted by the defense grid's emissions. On the ground, their genetically engineered soldiers fell into disarray, easy prey for Earth's organized defenders. Jeremy stood over the defeated form of Zarlok, his chest heaving from exertion. The ancient being looked up at him, its eyes filled with a mixture of hatred and grudging respect. "This isn't over," Zarlok hissed. "The game is far larger than you can imagine." Jeremy's response was cut short as the ship rocked violently. He stumbled, nearly losing his footing as the arbitrator shuddered beneath him. "What's happening?" he demanded, activating his comm link. Sarah's voice came through, filled with a mix of excitement and concern. "Jeremy, you need to get out of there now. The Chinese mech suit has breached the arbitrator's hull. They're coming aboard, and I don't think they're planning to be gentle." Jeremy looked at his team, then back at the subdued form of Zarlok. They had won this battle, but he knew that the war for humanity's place in the galaxy was just getting started. As the sounds of the approaching Chinese forces echoed through the ship, Jeremy realized that their victory had opened up a new world of possibilities and dangers that they had only begun to explore.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.